So this has been arguably the worst start to the season that I could possibly have asked for. But I'm not as discouraged as I would have been last year, maybe as some people would say that I should be, but I feel like I have a really good headspace. And so I want to talk about the beginning of the season, why it's kind of sucked, some decisions that I made that I have changed, and then just play around with you guys while I work on kind of fixing and finalizing some form and talking about some new discs that Infinite sent me to try to fill a couple slots, Halo Emperors, which I cannot wait to just see if they bomb. I really hope they're really overstable. Don't really care too much about score because I am working on some form stuff that we'll talk about, but we'll go to off the top. Hopefully this rain up here holds off. But yeah, this start of the year has really sucked, but somehow I'm still optimistic that I can go and like play very well at DDO in a couple weeks and hopefully start a stretch of good golf. I wouldn't expect this headspace from myself, Mr. Anxious Boy, but I also know that a lot of you guys are interested in like warm-up routines and stuff, and so I'm gonna show you real fast kind of what my warm-up has turned into. The movements aren't the prettiest. I'm still like learning a lot of them. My body's getting used to them, but they help kind of warm me up for disc golf and hopefully playing solid rounds. It's something I saw Anthony Barela talk a lot about, where he would just have this set routine every time before he played, and it got him in the right mental space as well as being physically ready. And I haven't had like that warm-up routine yet, and so this is something I've done before every round for the last like week or so, week and a half, that I'm planning on just continuing because I feel prepared to play when I do it. 10 minutes. And I'm actually warmed up instead of just skipping it or doing random stuff. Now we'll have a little progression of throws. Nice and easy. Warm it up. We have another switch. I'm gonna throw this one as my first. Hopefully don't need a second. I'll tell you why. I'm so stoked to have this disc back in the bag, but about 310 straight ahead. We're playing Owl's End, the full 18. It's a harder course in Denver, one of the hardest, but it really starts to get its teeth in the back nine, which is gonna turn into like 9 holes of a full hard 18 hole course eventually, but for now, little Firebird on the middle. Oh my gosh, I love that disc so much, it's not even funny. Yeah, I parked it. We'll try a forehand. I actually have some thoughts on forehands that I'm gonna need to iron out, but we'll try this interval on a forehand. Yes, dude, it worked. I figured out something in training and it worked for that forehand. Let's go. I'm stoked you still have it. Thank you. Do you go diving out there a lot?
Try to.
Nice.
Do you have a great one?
Yeah, you too. Thank you, man.
No.
Come on.
No, give it.
Just take it, bro.
No.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Because I have fun.
All right, dude. Thank you. Yeah, have a good one. How about this, man? Just hooked it up with one of my Metal Flake Romans that I dunked in the water. One of the only 2 ones that I have from this Texas swing run. I put the other one in the bag, but I missed this one. So there's only 2 of these left. You guys always sell those Romans. I'm gonna need to run some more Romans. I got some more stamps coming up. And I have a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about. It's kind of like an update video, but first, that disc that I just threw is a Champion Firebird. We'll talk about that first. We'll talk about forehand at some point today. But that Champion Firebird, I realized sometimes you just don't get along with the mold. And there's no reason except it just like doesn't click with you. And that is what happened with me with the Scepter. I would lose a lot of strokes from not throwing the Scepter great. And I realized I would be in my basement looking at that disc. Every time I pass it, I pick it up and be like, ooh, this feels good. I love how this feels. And I was like, let me just put it in my freaking bag. I had it in the bag all of last season. It's like, not super Champion Firebirdy, definitely gotten a little straight and beat in, but it's a really nice slot that I can forehand and backhand really well. And I didn't have any of the discs in my bag that I think you need, which are the discs that you put in your hand, you're like, I'm gonna throw a good shot with this. That's what this disc has been for me. And I genuinely don't think I've had like a bad shot or a bad result since I put it back in the bag. I'm bound to have them. But even there, it's like, that's my first actual shot of the day after warming up. And it was great. All right, 1 for 1, slight tail coming this way. I think we're gonna throw my Midnight Prowl 2. I think it's about 370, 375 down this hill. One thing that you'll see me working a lot on with form today, hopefully at least, is really shortening up this X step. There's a lot of like very mechanical reasons for it, but my X step typically tends to be too long, and then I end up falling onto this foot because there's never any, like this left glute never does any work. This is something I'm talking with my trainer a lot about. We're probably gonna be shooting something this week before I go to DDO about form stuff, but I need to honestly stay stable on this foot and not even necessarily on this toe, because if you get up on your toe, I know some people do this, but my trainer's like, I don't want you up there. Like, I'd rather have your heel as close to the ground as possible, because when I'm on my toe, I compensate fully through my calf, which is maybe one of the reasons why they look so gnarly. If you lower this down, it gets put more through your quad and glute. The higher this is, the more it goes below the knee, and you want more stability from this glute. And so really trying to work on stepping up, having a short X step that I'm a little lower on this foot so that there's stability here. And instead of falling onto this foot, I place and then transfer my weight in a way that my hips stay completely level the whole time so that they can spin around one another rather than one hiking and pulling another one through. It's kind of odd, but hopefully we throw that a lot like that today and don't ingrain any bad muscle memory. Get stable and tailwind, come on. Oh, wow. Yeah, this new like stuff does feel weird. I still think I'm a little overextended at the top, but it's gonna take some time and some muscle memory. Your body, like, it's honestly a lot, and maybe mostly your nervous system. So you talk about like muscle memory. That memory is in your nervous system, and not even muscle memory, but the ability to get in these movement patterns and to feel stable in them. I've learned this a lot in the gym as I've been going to this trainer. I don't know how long it's been, maybe a total of 6 or 7 weeks. And my strength has shot through the roof. Like, this is more so just to say like how much your body can, when you put it in positions that have integrity, which he stops me before I go past a certain range of motion or whatever. I've beaten my PRs from when I like lifted consistently when I was in like high school and early college. And that's like kind of blown my mind, and I've beaten them like doing pause reps and like reps, not singles. So that's been a little bit crazy. It's really taught me to trust the process there. Also practicing a lot of putting recently has taught me to trust the process with my putt. And now here, like my form, I know that as long as I continue trying to do what I want my body to do, it's going to learn how to do it. Obviously, there has to be some sort of connect there, but if it's getting better and better, I don't have to force it to be perfect today. It wants to get in the more advantageous, powerful positions, and it's gonna be able to do that the more that I do it with integrity, not just like repping it out past the point of failure where I'm like throwing bad reps, bad shots that aren't doing it, but trying to throw every shot controlled how I want to. The majority of those are like that. My form is gonna get better. Also, these are coming out soon. Tough little putt here. It's my first putt in the wild with these guys. It's great. We'll talk forehand here, and then we'll get into why this season has kind of sucked, because I haven't posted about it, but I had a tournament where I shot 910 rated. I shot 100 points below my rating for a round, and then a 930 rated round. But I want to talk about kind of those decisions that I made to play that, and then decisions I'm making because of that. But first, we need to talk a little bit about forehand stuff that I actually just figured out this morning. That's because this morning I was at training. I train every weekday, and there's this tennis ball that before I did my warm-ups, I was just throwing it against the wall. And I was realizing that when I was throwing it, my like kinetic chain was just moving all right. Like my foot would hit the ground, it would be a block or a brace as we call it in disc golf. It would block, and then everything else would come through, and it would all be smooth. And I realized I was starting that throw kind of here with the tennis ball, and then I'd come around in kind of a normal motion. I noticed a lot of times with my forehands, I would start my forehands here, which is a position in the throw, but when I throw submarine with a tennis ball, I'm not starting it here, I'm here, where this like shoulder is kind of in the correct scapular plane. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but like this is not an advantageous position. When you throw, this is not really where you want it to be. That's why people call it the deep pocket. I almost think that's just like the natural place where your shoulder wants to be, is here. Like if you're here, your shoulder, if you let it loose, it's gonna wanna be here. So it's probably strongest here in its stability. And so similarly, instead of being here in my forehand, I'm gonna try to start my forehands out here and then have a similar motion through. Got a little tailwind, we got a zone, 210 feet. Not gonna be like a very powerful show of this, but very helpful because I need to dial in a forehand before I get to DDO. I think you can almost see some of this in like the way that Jake Wolf's forehand looks so different than a lot of people. That's pretty parked. And he's a like 90+ mph pitcher, I believe. Maybe him or Ben, one of their brothers. But they throw almost with their hands a little more cocked, which honestly I think puts the forearm in a more advantageous position, because this is a pretty weak position. This is a strong position. And yeah, it can be loose, but you want to start it in that position. I'm grateful I'm starting to work with this guy and think in terms of like traditional biomechanics or just scientific understanding of biomechanics rather than disc golf mechanics, because we still haven't figured it out. I don't think there's almost anybody who has it fully figured out. And I think some things that are taught go against traditional understandings of how your body wants to rotate and throw. And disc golf really isn't that special of a movement. Maybe a little bit different of a plane of movement, maybe a little bit different of a grip and way that you throw, but it's rotational power. I'm really stoked on learning all these things, and as I learn them and ingrain them, I'll share them with you, but it's just kind of crazy to think about. It just feels more natural. Like my shoulder doesn't feel pinched. It feels like it's moving how it wants to. Interesting little byproduct is I thought that one was parked and that one was like gonna be in line with the basket, and they're both a little long. I'll talk more about these putters, just kind of teasing them for now. They should come out sometime in May. Like them a lot. Definitely will be throwing them, and when it's like colder like it is now, or like kind of below 70s, 80s, definitely be putting with them. Maybe even when it's warmer, but sometimes the stiff feels really good. Envy that flies close to a proxy. Wow. Another one where I kind of juiced it a bit. I expected it to be pretty parked, but tough putt. Oh, wow, pulled it. Bad read. Oh, no way. That was such a big drop. Oh my gosh. Wow, this is quite the start. The putts have felt good, so that's a win. Oh my gosh. This green is being rough to me today. Not gonna lie, I liked almost all those putts. something positive to take away. And I think honestly, that's one of the big helps to me with this terrible start to my season. Just as it is with the form, just trusting the process overall. It was really helpful for me that I gave myself like this year as what I kind of feel like is a building year, where I'm kind of setting my eyes on the first Pro Tour event of next year, 2025. Having that kind of long-term vision helps me to kind of take the wins and losses as they are. And honestly, hopefully even develop a process that isn't even reliant on like this long-term vision, but it's just my habits are take the good and the bad as it comes. And like, that's a double. I'm 1 down through 4 right now. And I don't have like this crazy anxiety, which I typically would, especially when shooting a video, because I'm like, oh, they're gonna care about all these things. And I think that me adjusting my mindset has been very, very helpful in dealing with such a bad start and knowing that like it's not the end of the world. I'm not a terrible disc golfer, like I just haven't put anything together yet. And the putting everything together is something I think about a little bit, because putting everything together means that there has to be everything to be put together, if that makes sense. So for instance, getting a forehand, getting a good putt, getting a backhand, like working on the form, working on the physicality, working on the mental side. All these things need to happen at some point, and giving myself such a long time horizon allows them to happen independently and then come together. They don't have to come together immediately and like I have to freak out about that. And so honestly, what's really exciting is the next weekend I play DDO, and then I come back to Denver and have the first Q Series event of the year, and then I have a week off in which I'm traveling to Washington, and then I play 5 A-tiers in a row, or above. I play a Q Series, a Pro Tour Plus, a Pro Tour, a Q Series, and then an A-tier. I still have to get into the last Pro Tours, but I'm waitlist 10, so I should get in. So hopefully stuff comes together during that time, but even when I'm on the road, like I'm still focused on the training side, because I don't wanna have those 7 weeks kind of be a wash, because I'm so focused on the weekend that I lose sight of the beginning of next year, which is an interesting mindset for me to have. And I think it'll honestly help me to play better, but that's all speculative. And right now we're 1 down, definitely not the end of the world. This is a tough hole though, 370 straight ahead. Could be a big wide hyzer, which I might be inclined to take. I really like playing up the middle. There's just so much headwind right now that I think we're gonna take this Roman that he just found, gave back to me. Throw out a little Annie down the middle. Dang, that was gonna be perfect if I missed that, but I didn't miss it, so we'll pitch up. I like the way the disc is coming on my hand today. It feels like it's coming on the planes that I want. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the beginning of the season. I think I've played 6 events and I've cashed in 1. I got second in 1 event and second to Joe Revere in the second round, where I missed 6 circle 1 putts, lost to him by like 3, I think, overall. My putting, I mean, you've seen it on the first couple holes, but not obviously this one. It's been feeling so much better. And that's another thing where it's just been, I've been averaging 200 made putts a day for the past week and a half maybe, and just making sure that I see the disc go in the basket. And it's one of the things where it's just like practice is the answer. During practice, there is dialing into my putting form, and that's been helpful, but I mean, the answer really just is you need to practice. And that's one of the things I took so for granted last year. I was throwing in like the 10, 15, 10, 20 range if I made all my C1 putts last year. And this year, I haven't been throwing that good, honestly. Everything's been kind of a mess at different times. My putting has never been good though, and so now working on it so much and knowing that I have as much time from now to the start of DDO as I did from when I started practicing putting, and I can just maintain this throughout the rest of the year, my putting can become a strength rather than just a liability, where I get on the green, I'm like, oh no. All those putts, in my head, I said I was gonna make them, even up to the last one. And then still now, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this putt. Like, the doubt hasn't crept in, because I know that I've been working on my mechanics and I've seen so many putts go in the basket that there's no reason for me to be doubting my putter right now. Before, if I see putts miss, I'm like, well, I'm having a bad putting day. Whereas now, I feel like I have mechanics and mentality to lean on. This one, I'd love to get back on track. We're gonna try a big forehand here. I think the basket's about 375, 380 down there. Do have kind of a tail left to right. So I want probably something straight right now. What I would probably throw in this wind is this I-Blade Emperor. Give it a touch of flex out of the hand, let it get back. Honestly, these go so far, I'm a little worried I'd juice it. But I think this is the right disc for me. When I'm throwing these harder, I really gotta focus on still having really good mechanics rather than just like, oh, I'm throwing harder, let me go so fast. It's no, still be solid, block, hips, go through. Actually, that block is weird. My hips need to be level to rotate rather than weirdly pitched. I'm not really getting there on forehand recently, but I think that's almost pin high. A little left to right, so slightly higher. Okay, I don't know why. This is a funny thing that happens with me sometimes, which I don't understand. When I was good at putting before, I would always make my first putt and miss my second. So honestly, not a negative, but I do want to be able to make those second ones. I think it's a little bit of a lack of focus. A2 or zone? I think we're gonna go A2, just high and a little wide. I'm so rushed. 390 into a headwind. I think honestly those eat at me more than anything, but I just have to take that out of my mind and realize I'm a good putter. I honestly was like, in my head I was like, I need to go through my routine where start up, come down, do a practice rep, and then putt. And I was like, nah, I don't need to, it's too short. And then I didn't do it, and then I just missed it. So this one we got a pretty straight headwind, so I think, even though I haven't thrown these yet, we're gonna throw these Emperors first. They are nice. I have two that look very, very similar. We're gonna have to throw them on some Anheuser. They look like they got that nice Anheuser top. I think they're gonna be relatively beefy. They feel honestly almost better than the one that I lost in the Riva at the Aviary, the tournament where I went from basically being in contention, quadruple bogey in the first hole, and then missing cash with the 3-putt on the final. I'm killing it this year, but. Didn't even flex it, oh no. I think that disc is what I want, but that was a bad shot. Uh-oh. Okay, it's still stable. And it's very far. Oh, that's sick. That's really nice. Okay. I like that concrete one, the hamburger. We'll see. And I think those Halo Emperors are really good. Obviously gonna need a lot more work with those discs, but I think they're doing most of what I want them to do. Drop, dang. That's sweet. It's kind of funny because I know my putters like lost me a good bit of strokes today, but because it's like 1 less than normal, but 2, the putts are feeling good. It's one of those things where I can beat myself up. It's like, man, I'm still missing so many circle 1 putts, or I can take the positive, wow, it's feeling better. And that positive mentality I think will be really useful for the future, and that by talking more positively about it right now, I will be able to compete better because it'll give me more energy to, instead of being like, oh, I can't putt, this sucks. I want to practice more because I'm actually throwing it pretty well. Whoa, more wind than I thought. Get through. Sneak. Yeah, kick. Didn't see it. Oh, got through safe. In like super windy conditions, maybe kind of like this, maybe slightly more. I think 7 down was about 10-20. So. Okay, now my confidence is starting to wane a little bit on these putts. That sucks. Honestly, that was just breakdown of mechanics. No worries. I just didn't go down or up where I wanted to. Got to be able to capitalize on those. 2 through the front 9. I know I can play this back 9 pretty well. All right, straight through there is the basket. It's kind of a wide hyzer, 415. I think it honestly might be this interval. This rain's coming out. I hate that. Looks nice here, but it's kind of raining this way. Almost parked, a little short. We'll try this Emperor. This was the one that was, I thought, more understable, but I think I just threw it bad. Yeah, it's beef. Okay, that's money. Thank goodness. Pretty parked. There we go, worked on the right mechanics and we're good. I'm gonna probably rip through the rest of this course and put it over what I'm saying now, but I really am not as disappointed with the start of the season as I maybe should be. I've been playing a lot of smaller events, and I honestly had thought that playing those sanctioned events was really important to me because I put such an importance on sanctioned events. And then I would get to these smaller events, the local C tiers, and I was like, okay, I got a chance to win. And I just couldn't bring myself really to care. I more so cared about the bigger ones, and I think that that's a problem. Like, I need to care about the smaller ones. But then I realized I have 7 weeks out of 8 of really big tournaments coming up, and that's probably occupying a lot of my mind space. So I don't really feel it was necessary to play some of those smaller ones. So I actually had a flex this week that I dropped, and a B tier that I dropped, just really trying to give my all focus-wise to DDO, and then this stretch and really making sure that I'm maximizing my training in the gym, and then biomechanically. So I know there's a lot to continue to grow in, especially as you see my putting needs a lot of work. My throwing still does, fixing, like finalizing a good form and then working from that base. And I know all those things need to come together at some point, but I know that that time is not now. Even though I think my rating might drop into the 970s, it's gonna depend honestly at how I play at DDO and at 303, because both of those are gonna be in my rating, which is kind of fun. And I can play well enough that it actually goes up, but I also know that if my rating drops, it's not the end of the world. I'm already basically in all the events that I want to get into for this year. I know that even with a rating drop, ratings are important, and they're important to me. But I know that they don't dictate everything about me as a player. They dictate kind of how I've been playing. And how I've been playing is gonna be accurately represented because it's not been good. So I don't have to like worry about that. I know that the optics might not be good, but that's totally okay. I still feel like there's plenty of time left and I feel like I'm making the right decisions and steps to get there. I felt like that before, and that's been wrong, and so I could be wrong again. But every time that it's been wrong, I've been able to refine what I think is the right thing to do, and I think get closer to the ultimate goal. So really, really excited for what the rest of the season has in store, and some other big announcements that I have coming up for you guys. My new putters, which will be dropping pretty soon, which I'm super stoked on. It's gonna be the only run that has this logo ever of a Tour Series disc, official one. Shout out Infinite, shout out you guys. Hopefully I rambled enough to have the rest of these 7 holes, and hopefully I'm like 6 or 7 down. I think we can definitely get there. We're 3 through 10. The rainbow's out, the sun is out, the rain is out. This is weird. Whatever. Appreciate you guys so much. See you soon.